What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Variant Intel. This is episode 14 featuring our new guest, MAiWORLD. MAiWORLD, how are you doing tonight? Oh, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yo,
Oh, yep, you there?
no, yeah, my bad. I had myself muted, but
No, it's all right.
I'm doing
Well,
good.
welcome to the show. We appreciate having you here. Give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do, and what's your main thing you got going on.
Yeah, no, I'll try to keep it brief, but basically, I'm a musician, artist, and been making music for quite some time. Found myself after college producing with a group of guys, and found ourselves with our first little industry situation, and it didn't necessarily work out for the best. And after that, I kind of realized that the typical music industry was not necessarily for me in the way that kind of like I am as a person. So I think for the next year I was really just searching for something different. And then COVID hit and everybody had a little extra time. I was doing a little more research, stumbled across crypto and blockchain technology, started to do a little bit of research, started to understand it, and then I found Ethereum and understood what the decentralized internet could do. And that's when I started to make some connections on how music and these things could kind of combine together. And at this time I wasn't my own artist yet. I was working for other people, doing other things as a producer and engineer, and but I had a catalog of music that I had built up. And so once I kind of discovered that, I realized this might be an avenue which I could attack. So in about late 2020, I kind of went all in on Web3 and realized what the potential of that was, and pretty much just dove into the Web3 world as a brand new artist. Kind of like created a new alias, which is MAiWORLD, and um, really just dove into that whole world and just really just started to learn about it. Worked with a bunch of different people, got involved with a bunch of different projects, produced for a few other artists, and that led me down the Web3 rabbit hole, which then I started to make a lot of connections on how Web3 in general would pretty much change every industry that has to do with the internet and or anything digital. So, but man, it's crazy. In 2020, I thought I was almost late. Looking back, I was super fucking early. Oh,
No, it's okay.
damn, my
It's all good.
bad.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah,
He,
no,
he
it's
told me like before like hey, speech,
no,
my bad.
you're good. You're good. So, no, that's really cool. So with Dead Drop, obviously, this show is centered around Dead Drop, which is a new AAA extraction shooter from Midnight Society, which is co-founded by Dr. Disrespect. Um, you know, the interesting thing is, the studio does intend in the future to integrate Web3, and the general consensus is like that weapon skins and items in the game would eventually be NFTs or NFT like. And the most prominent showing that they have right now is what we call the Founders Pass, which is basically an NFT, which is also we call a variant. And that Founders Pass has incredible utility, and we're going to get into all these things. I do want to talk a little bit more about what you were talking about music. So, if you're not familiar or you haven't had a chance to get into the Dead Drop community, I guess that'd be my first question for you: is what's your experience with Dead Drop? When did you find out about it? Are you getting a Founders Pass, or do you already have one? Tell us a little bit about that stuff.
Yeah, no, great questions, because it kind of does all kind of combine together for me. Because when I first discovered Web3, obviously I was a musician and that was like my main avenue into it. But quickly I started to realize how much it would change everything. And then eventually a light bulb clicked and I was like, the most important aspect of what will change is gaming. The best use case of NFTs, the best use case of this technology is gaming. And I know that, depending on the audience, I think this topic is still somewhat, I don't want to say taboo, but I think it's still somewhat debated. And
Oh,
it blows my mind because what's
no, please
what's
go
up?
ahead. No, I had an alert up. Please continue.
Oh, okay, cool. Um, but yeah, so I started making those connections, and I realized very quickly that gaming was the perfect use case for NFTs and or blockchain technology. Because take Fortnite for example, right? People buy skins all the time, blah blah blah. but they don't actually own that skin in a way that they could then secondarily trade it. And I know a lot of people don't find that interesting, but there's a lot of things that can build on top of, and it gets very interesting once the infrastructure of all that is set. But so as a musician, I got into all that, and I was really interested in gaming at the time. And my world and my as a brand, you could say, is heavily kind of like partnered and coupled with gaming visuals. I went with like pixel art stuff and blah blah blah. And one of the first ideas I had to release my music was to make like Game Boy esque graphics to go along with the music as almost like music videos.
That sounds
And
cool.
once I started to dive into this, I realized it was just as difficult to make basically like pixel art animation and or expensive, I should say, to make pixel art animation as I'm not a pixel artist, but to make the pixel art animation for the music videos as it would almost be to just make a game. So that's when I started down this rabbit hole of realizing, what if I were to take my music and turn it into a game? And so that's kind of where, my first like coupling of music and gaming really came into play, and it all like really made sense whenever I connected the idea of NFTs. So basically, I found this random dude in the Discord. He worked in a program called GB Studios. I told him my idea. He was down, and we partnered, and we basically built this game. I designed this game, and then he basically coded it with me. Now he ended up like
Cool.
quitting halfway through, but that's a
Oh no,
whole other
but hey,
conversation.
but building a game, that's so cool, man.
Let me,
Mm.
real quick, I'll actually grab you an example of it.
Oh yeah,
Sorry to
okay. He's like, I'm ready. We're ready to show off some cool stuff.
All right, so just real quick, I just wanted to show, and this will all make sense. But so basically, what I did is I actually turned the game, or turned the music into different levels inside of a Game Boy game, and so I actually have physical Game Boy cartridges that would come with the NFTs whenever you would purchase the music.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's pretty
So
cool. So you get that's like your little physical like keepsake that you get if you purchase the NFT.
exactly, and some people are pretty anonymous in Web3, so some people would buy an NFT and they didn't even tell me their address. So some people didn't even actually get me to. So I still actually hold their Game Boy cartridge, but technically it's theirs. But yeah, so I combined all this stuff from gaming to music, and it just really got my wheels turning. And after that project, I was like, it's gaming, like truly, like I'm a musician. It's what I do. It's my bread and butter. But I'm I could not be more convinced and or convicted on the idea that what will bring mass adoption to Web3, whether it's wherever that path lies, which I think it'll be everything. I think Web3 will affect everything. Blockchain will affect everything. But where the catalyst I think will be is
Mhm.
actually going to be gaming. And
Yeah.
so, you mentioned Dead Drop, how I found that. So once I got really into gaming, I hadn't been gaming that much. Back when I first got into Web3, I was full fledged trying to make music, and that takes a lot of energy and time. But after a few successful projects, I picked up an Xbox again, and I was gaming with my friends. And one of my friends who may actually be watching this, so shout out to him. Um, he mentioned a streamer. He's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Dr. Disrespect?" And at the
Hmm.
time, I really hadn't. And so he
Yeah.
shows me a couple of his videos. I watched one of his streams one day, and I was just absolutely baffled. I was blown away.
Yeah.
I was like, this is the most, and I was baffled in a lot of ways. I was baffled for like three things. One, I was baffled at the amount of people watching. I was like, you got to think, right? Like, it's hard enough to sell stadiums out of 30,000 people. Meanwhile, he has like 30,000 concurrent viewers every time he's live, and
Yeah.
they're active, they're chatting, blah blah blah, and they're also sending like super chats. Like, it's really mind blowing to me. But the entertainment value was what really blew me away. I was like, this is arguably one of the most entertaining things I've ever watched, and I was just like baffled because I had never really watched gaming like that. So I started to follow his journey, and lo and behold, like I think maybe like a month after I started following him, I see what Midnight Society is, and I realized that they're dropping an NFT project, and I was like, no fucking chance. Damn, I keep
No,
I keep doing it. That's
it's all good, man.
my beat. That's
We're
my beat.
excited, folks.
I'm
Look, we're excited about Dead Drop. It is that freaking awesome.
Yeah, so I was geeked. I was like, man, I need to get into this. So I joined everything. I tried to sign up, and I actually got in on the whitelist. And so I actually was one of the first people to actually collect a variant, for which at the time $50 US.
Yeah,
So
yeah, same here. Same with a lot of the folks, and a lot of the variants that are here today were. I mean, well, I guess most of them. I mean, I think it was like the first 500 were part of the ARG, and they got theirs for free because that was just part of getting in early on that. But then that whitelist, like you said, with me and you, we got picked out of the 400,000, which is just crazy to think about. And then yeah, we paid our
crazy.
50, and then boom, here we are.
Yeah, and I could, and getting into this particular project. I mean, I've been in Web3 for almost 3 full years now, like full fledged. Like this is what I do for a living, specifically with music. Um, but I mean, I don't know how to put it into words. Like the way in which this project has been rolled out so far, it could not be better. It really could not be like better laid out. Like this is one of the
Yeah.
best projects I've ever seen in Web3. Which I mean, we could talk about the whys and why I think I can make that convicted play and be like, listen, like if you are not if you're in Web3 and you're not familiar with you know Dead Drop, you're
This
really
is
missing the ball.
something. Yeah, yeah. This is another reason I was so excited to bring you on because I've been doing this. I've been hosting this show now for a little over a couple of months, and it's been really doing well, being well received by the community. But thus far, I've had Crypto Stash on. He was the first guest, and then I had Professor Pressure, if you know him. But there hasn't been a whole lot of Web3 folks on the show yet, and I know as time goes on, I'm gonna want to have more of folks like you on the show because even though a lot of the Web3 integration for Dead Drop is still quite a ways down the road, it's that foundational piece with the variant, with the Founders Pass, like you mentioned, like just the base implementation of that, like because it's implemented, it's there. There's not much to it really, right? But it's how it exists, the utility of it, as simple as it is. But that's the funny thing is like foundationally, it is about simplicity, right? Later on down the road, they're going to make implementation on, maybe skins or a storefront or something like that. And those are actually things you can own and, kind of like see it like you mentioned gaming. And this is where I agree with you 110%. I think gaming is the quote unquote pathway to adoption because CS:GO is a great example, right? You buy those skins, you own them, you can trade them on a marketplace. I mean, that's basically an NFT. I mean, it's not because they're not on chain, but how easy would it be to port them to chain and just continue operations like nothing ever happened? And that's what I believe as someone who's been in this community now, and a lot of others believe that's probably how Dead Drop will do it. And I think that's a way they want to do it, right? We'll see how it turns out in the end, but just making it as seamless as possible for the end user because again, it's going to take the masses a long time to really fully adopt, right? So if you make it as seamless and painless as possible, that's the key to success right there. And so far, that is exactly what they've done at Midnight Society with these Founders Passes. And the coolest thing is, I don't know if we talked about this or if you're aware of this, but so Midnight Society is a AAA game studio, and Dead Drop is their first game. They're going to make more games in the future. Well, this Founders Pass transcends the one game. It's going to be useful in some way for multiple games, and so there's a lot of intrinsic value there. That's really really cool. And yeah, and as far as the industry in terms of implementing NFTs, everyone's so scared of it. Like you said, it's still considered very taboo. It's got a bad rap because there are a lot of bad actors out there, and that's totally legit, right? Like it makes sense. It's a fair critique. But I do agree that getting mass adoption is, I think video games is the vessel for that because and here's the thing, all these other AAA studios, and if nobody wants to be first, nobody wants to be the guinea pig, right? But they're happy to have a guinea pig because if that case study works, boom, everybody can come in and get their piece of the pie at that point. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Historically, you look at businesses, that's just run of the mill. So Dead Drop, hats off to Midnight Society for spearheading this and really kind of setting the example in so many ways and showing that, hey, look, sure, there's bad actors out there, but there's also good actors, and there's people that really want to use the technology in the way that it should be, or at least in a way that really makes the gaming experience just take it to the next level, right? It's truly an evolution of the gaming sphere, right? You have you have like the game itself and how the game plays and whatever genre it sits in. But technologically, and when we're talking about money and transactions and how studios can monetize their product and how consumers can consume those products, I mean, it's if implemented correctly, I'm all on board. What we've been talking about here because it is. And so I guess going back to what I was saying earlier, having folks like yourself on the show, I want to do this more, not just with yourself, but I do want to find other Web3 creators as this game evolves, as things move along, because I think it's a good reference point for this community and those who aren't super into crypto to start hearing the buzzwords, getting familiar with things, and realizing that yes, there is a good way to implement these things, right? Not everything out there is predatory. Now, look, you still, as we say in crypto, do your own research always. No one here is a financial advisor, right? but
Right, right.
I love that Midnight Society is setting the example. So I'm in total agreement with you on that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of points there that I could hone in on, but no, I mean, in general, I think one of the things that's most impressive to me is the fact that they launched pretty much, still kind of during what was a lot of a hype cycle in the crypto timeline. Right now it's the most dead I've ever seen. Like people are dismal. Of course, like things are kind of turning around right now. You get some news about this or the other, but the narrative at that time was really hype driven and really like lots of money's being made, blah 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 blah, and a lot of that was true. And you're totally right. There was a lot of scams going on at the time,
Yeah.
but for
Jump
them to
on,
have
get come
come
on, come on, jump on the train, get some Dogecoin with Elon. We're going to the moon.
exactly right, no, 100%, right?
Yeah.
Distractions, right? Like that's the thing that like really like I have a conspiratorial mind at times. But, like, I see things that are pushed to the mainstream, and I'm like, "How is this what's being pushed when I'm balls deep in Web3, like, this is what I do, and I see what I believe to be, like, the convicted, the real people building, and nobody is putting them on a pedestal, and I think the reason why is because they're doing it so well, it's almost like a threat to all of these industries.
Yeah.
If you're a musician that's being successful as an independent, that's not on Spotify, that's not signed, that's a threat to that industry. If you're a gaming studio that is able to self-fund via your own community, that
Yeah.
supports what you're doing and that helps you build your game, that's a threat to the industry. And the fact that they were able to execute this in the way that they have already has just been mind-blowing to me. And
Yeah, I
the
do want to
progress.
say, sorry if I'm jumping. I'm
No,
riding
I
this
love it.
train with you though. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm bringing that same energy, right? So no,
yeah.
Midnight Society. So another thing for those just jumping in for the first time, hearing about all this stuff, Midnight Society is co-founded by Dr. Disrespect and his business partner Sumit Gupta, and then there's two other founders, Quinn Del Hoyo and Robert Bowling. Robert Bowling is got a huge background in Call of Duty. Obviously, Quinn comes from Halo Infinite, I believe, and Halo 5, I think. Don't shoot me, Quinn. And then Doctor Disrespect is go look him up if you don't know who he is. Just all you got to do is Google. You're gonna see all the things: multi-million-dollar smile, the black steel, right? And then, but so what my point is Midnight Society is well funded, right? Yes, to your point, the variant NFT launch flawless in my opinion. A great funding source for them. It's also a really interesting genius 9,000 IQ level play as far as a marketing engine. By we're going to open develop right from day one. We're going to give access to our founders pass holders, and we're going to give them permission to stream and talk about it the whole way through, right? That's absolutely genius. But the studio is also well funded. So while they are community supported financially, that is not their only source of funding. They, Doc is, they're very well off. They're very well connected in the industry, and all the talent in Midnight Society is from all over the industry. These people are veterans. They've worked on everything: Call of Duty, Destiny, Halo. They got designers that worked on Avatar too. You know what I'm saying? Like they are stacked. So this studio is jam packed with talent. But anyway, go ahead.
No, facts. No, yeah, don't get me wrong. And I mean, like, somebody who just recently got into, game dev himself, right? Like, I'm I've been working in Unreal for like the last 7 months now, and
Ooh,
that's a whole other conversation. That's a
yeah.
because I mentioned the music and the
Hey,
gaming, and
we gotta.
uh,
So there's two community members I want to shout out that I want you to take note of, and I want you to
please,
hit them up, and maybe there'll be some collaborations there. But OMA Monster
love it.
is you. So you've been if you've been here, if you've been a Founders Pass holder, you probably know these folks. But in case you don't, OMA Monster, he's been working in Unreal Engine recently. He's starting to learn it, is what he told me, and but he does a lot of cool weapon skin concepts for Dead Drop. Just fan made weapon concepts is really cool. So shout out to OMA Monster, and then William Morris, who was on. Both of these gentlemen were on the show previously, but William
Let's
has been
go.
putting out music too. So for you being a musician,
Oh
maybe there
yeah.
could be some collabs between you and William at some point. I think that'd be kind of cool to see. So
Dude, we need it. The variants supporting variants. That's what we need. We need to build together, and that's what that's a whole other thing. That's like more of a Web3 conversation point that some people maybe harp on, but you know, there's definitely something like to the fact that we're all here together building our own things as well as supporting this project. And I think that community aspect should be absolutely leaned on. So super down to connect with them. So if you guys hear this, I'm super down. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll reach out myself too.
yeah.
But yeah,
No, there's no
so
shortage of creativity in this community as people are starting to find out, man. I mean, I've been harping on this. We did it earlier on Twitter Spaces. Like, we got people doing live action stuff. We got people doing video editing, Unreal stuff, weapon skins, music, dude. I mean, like there's just all these things, right? I'm doing this show, this podcast, or whatever. Just anything that I've that myself and other creators feel like and everybody gets and it juices each other up, right? We all get like hyped from each other's creativity, and it's this like snowball effect, man. It's so great. I'm riding this. I'm on cloud nine, man, because I was saying earlier on the Twitter Spaces, like being part of a community that is like this is I challenge anybody to say that theirs is better, man, because and it's not about being better, but I've been saying, look, if you don't know about Dead Drop and yeah, there are some people that probably would say that, but like if you don't know about Dead Drop, like come on over, come hang out, like try it out, come check us out, come hang out with us, chit chat, shoot the stuff, let's play some Dead Drop, dude. I'm telling you, you're gonna have a blast, like guaranteed.
yeah, no, 100%. And this is kind of irrelevant, but it's just funny because it mentions the community aspect. Is it's like for the last month and a half, in the Web3 space in the NFT world, it's been horrific for a lot of these big collections. They're losing money. People are getting liquidated because people are over leveraging these NFTs and doing all kinds of weird stuff
Yeah.
with their assets. What's crazy is Dead Drop has not moved. Why? Because it's it's its own market.
When
This
you
is the
say
most.
when you just a question for me for the sorry, I'm gonna raise
Oh,
my
please.
hand.
Yeah, please,
When
please,
you
please.
say it hasn't moved, could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, and look, this isn't this particular. When I say moved, I mean the floor price of these NFTs, which by the way is irrelevant to pretty much like it doesn't matter, right? Like these floor prices could go to zero, and the project is still going to be better than 99% of the projects
Right,
out here.
right, right.
It's not about the price of this floor, but I think that there's certain statistics about that are crucial to understand. A lot of these projects are meant to be bought and then flipped. And
Yeah.
I think it might happen here too. It will eventually. These
Oh,
whales will
well,
eventually
I
be.
can tell you firsthand. Like there are definitely founders passes that are getting flipped on the regular or purchased. Some people are purchasing multiple for just that reason, and
Mhm.
that's okay, right? Like the
It is
developers
for sure.
understand that this is a thing. Everybody else understands that this is just a normal part of the process. You're always going to have that crowd, and it's not a bad thing, right? Like if people want to buy variant NFTs and flip them later for a profit, like that's just part of the game. They're taking that risk. That's their own business. You know what I'm saying? And there's no judgment here anywhere else, right? So there is some of that. I don't think it's huge, but I will say this: myself and a lot of other variants do agree that the price and the value of these NFTs will probably only go up as time goes on, because as time goes on and more adoption happens and more people find out what Dead Drop is and the value of that NFT and what it means, I think that they will get more and more valuable over time. Now, but it's the market too, right? Like anything could, like you said, go to zero or whatever else. Like don't ever like bet on it, right?
Right, and just to even chime in, it's like once again, like it is, I know that we're talking about more fundamental like principles of like what that drop is, what it'll do, like
Yep.
the implementation of the technology. The pricing is irrelevant at the end of the day, and but don't get me wrong, I do agree with you 100%, but not financial advice. Do whatever you want, but
Right.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
completely agree with you.
Do your own homework,
There's
folks.
no, yeah, right, right. Uh, but damn, where was I gonna go with that?
It happens to the best
No,
of us, man. We get all over the place in these shows, man. But it's great. This is it's good conversation. Like I said, it's always good to talk about it because this is the side of Dead Drop that is still pretty far down the road, and there's still a lot of people in the community that are just learning about crypto or maybe they're holding off on learning. So it's always good to listen to for sure. Different perspectives and what people are doing and how they're messing around in Web3. I mean, there's so many cool things that can be done with it.
For sure. And one thing that I'm really excited about, for not just with Dead Drop, but in general for Web3 games, is this idea of what I'll call interoperability and user generated content. And
Ah, yes.
they kind of go hand in hand. But imagine every IP on the world, every IP. It doesn't matter what it is. Wendy's, maybe it's Wendy's, maybe it's MAiWORLD. Doesn't matter what it is. Imagine an IP and a brand being able to bring their content into Dead Drop,
Yeah.
and imagine just that alone should excite people. Like, wait a minute, I can make my own skin. Maybe I'll be able to
Yeah.
maybe. And what happens when your IP is big in general? That IP might get big in that game, and that asset might be interoperable with multiple games, with multiple worlds. And there's once again, it gets a little bit too far fetched, too long term vision. But imagine when Dead Drop works with another game, and imagine when this game they're all interoperable, and now you have Dead Drop skins that somehow are interoperable with this world, and
Yeah.
it becomes this is where Web3 and gaming connects the digital world and the IPs of the digital world in a way that we can't possibly imagine, and it will exponentially grow the value of which and the who wants to be there, because
Yeah.
when you have a weird IP that's all of a sudden associated with a game, it becomes there's like a different interest now. Now it's like, well, what if I'm Walmart and I want to sell products inside of, Dead Drop's little overworld that maybe exists in the future? I don't know if that's
Sure.
actually going to be a thing. I'm just
Yo, Dead Drop's got great value. Yeah.
they all
Let's go, man.
bro, it's yeah, look, I'm not even just trying to pump the bags here, because I think the reality is like, I'm just bullish on gaming in general in this world, and
Yeah.
I'm just super. I'm honestly, just like round it back. It's like I'm just blown away at what they've been able to do so far, and I'm super excited to see how we can build with that, even with the user generated content side of things. And I know that they mentioned that briefly
Oh, they're gonna go
during
hard
one
on
of the
that. User when you
that
said UGC, I perked up because that's a big topic, and the developers have really emphasized how important it is to them, and we don't know yet what snapshot that will show up. It's still, pardon me, probably a pretty good ways away, but it is one of the core pillars of the game. It will be, and they've touted that. And yeah, one thing I did want to add to your example about brands being able to come in and represent and sell things in a game or this or that. The funny thing about gaming is it goes back to my earlier point where like you already see like it's so seamless realistically to transition and make current day games that monetize via battle passes and microtransactions and whatever else, or DLC packs, and just turn it on and put it on chain, and now it's technically in the background an NFT that you can trade and own and all this. It would be so seamless in gaming because like take for instance like a guest character in a fighting game like Akuma in Tekken 7, right? Like that's Capcom Street Fighter IP being represented in Tekken, which what is Tekken? Bandai Namco, I think so. And yeah, you know what I mean. So that's an example of brands working together with digital assets in their games, and that's like the simplest idea of it. And they've been doing that for almost 20 years plus probably, right? So
I think that's
it would be
I think that's where
a pretty
I was
easy
just
to
gonna say,
do. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say I think that's where Fortnite has dominated.
Oh, they've
Fortnite has
crushed
been
it.
is the they're the
Yeah.
king. They're the best at interoperating any IP. They
Yeah, it's
bring
like who
in
isn't in Fortnite at this point, man?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And look, people might ask this question right now. It's like, okay, well, if that makes sense, if everything you're saying makes sense, then why hasn't Fortnite made NFTs yet? This answer is really simple. It's they don't want to give that leverage up. They
It's
don't
well,
want you know how much money they're making? There's a
I
lot of
think
reasons, right? But number one, it has to do with money. It always has to do with money.
well,
It has to
yeah.
do with money
I
and people.
think I think it's all like I think
Eh,
it's that plus like I said, nobody wants to be first, right? Like there's like Call of Duty, right? Battle Royale, PUBG just crushed it, right? Daisy was crushing it, then PUBG came in and just crushed Battle Royale scene, and it was so good. And then one more person started doing it, and then eventually Call of Duty finally was like, okay, we're gonna do a Battle Royale, right? Like I really see this being the same kind of move where like and maybe it will be Dead Drop that does it, right? Where Dead Drop says, all right, our battle pass, our storefront items, and even in-game loot items that you can bring out of the world are all tradable on this like in-game marketplace or whatever it or however they do that. And then people start doing it and playing it and it works. All the other gaming studios are going to be like, okay, proof of concept, and they didn't have to spend money and lose money and take the risk. They had another company do it for them, right? So at that point, the concept is proven and X company is making millions of dollars. All right, all right, Fortnite peeps, it's time to jump in. Call of Duty peeps, it's time to jump in. Activision, it's time to jump in. Like, I guarantee you, as soon as one company does it right and starts making profit, the floodgates are going to open. Watch.
Oh, of course. And to be honest with you, I don't even think that they need a proof of concept. I think that there's a lot of extra things that we maybe haven't touched on yet, which is like
Sure.
this market is still unregulated in a lot of ways, and I'm
Oh,
not a big fan
that's
of
a
the
big
idea of
piece.
regulation.
That is a big piece here in the
But
United
like
States, anyway.
we for sure, exactly, right? And that's all we've seen the last year is just attacks, 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 attacks on first it's it was one first it was one coin in particular. Now it's exchanges. Now it's oh, you're all brokers, or which by the way, all exchanges are essentially going to become banks. I mean, dude,
Yeah, well, the
I can
ones that
pretty much lay out
survive
how I
anyway, based on so what my world is alluding to is a term called regulatory clarity. In the United States, we have none. That just means that our government has not, and we're not about to get super political, but it's basic like crypto terminology you want to kind of be aware of. For so when we start talking about like game studios that are going to implement X, Y, or Z, well, that requires certain rules to be in place, right? So that's what we're kind of alluding to. But basically, when we're talking about regulatory clarity, what we mean is the U.S. government has yet to define the goalposts on what is and what isn't and what you can and cannot do where it pertains to cryptocurrencies. There's a lawsuit that's ongoing right now that you can Google in your free time that there may soon come some answers for that in the next year or so, maybe sooner. And everybody, as far as crypto peeps and crypto exchanges and stuff, everybody's kind of looking to that to get those answers because at that point, once we have the goalposts and we know the rules, now we can kind of proceed and figure out what we want to do. And I would assume that a lot of game companies, that's probably a big piece of their hesitation, if not the biggest piece. I mean, the money is always the big one, but in this case, it's also the regulations, right? A lot of people don't want to proceed until they have those rules in place, and that's fair, right? That's totally fair.
for sure. 100%. And I
Mm.
mean, it's not like we're not seeing, moves in place too. Like, one of the things that really caught my eye was in the very top of the markets in late 2021 was when Microsoft acquired or tried to acquire because it's now being rejected because they realize that they will own the planet if they get this, which is Microsoft trying to buy Activision and Blizzard.
Yeah,
And, you know, a lot of people didn't really blink at that, but that was a $70 billion acquisition. That's a pretty large cash
yeah.
out
It's
acquisition,
almost
especially at the
80. It's
top of the
like
market.
it's like 79, I think. But yeah, and by the way, so for that for that whole ordeal, the decision on that is going to come any day now, whether it goes through or doesn't. And I know there's different people on different sides of the fence. Again, I definitely want to steer away from anything political because that's kind of like a do your own research thing. But I know what point you were trying to make, where it's like, you know, get the gaming industry and huge acquisitions. Obviously, you know, there's a lot to be said about those things. But go ahead and continue. Sorry.
No, yeah, cool. I'll try to. Yeah, I don't think I was going political on them. I think really what I'm saying is like I think that these companies don't throw around that kind of money unless they know where it's going.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
know exactly
It's an investment,
that's
right?
gonna make that 100%, and they
Yeah.
understand that the world is going to live inside of digital worlds. I mean, Ready Player One type things are absolutely it is kind of where the world is gonna head, you know? I mean, not
Yeah.
to be dismal, look, there's a lot of maybe there's a dystopian way to view where the world is going. And by the way, I should say this, and I think maybe some people probably already get this vibe, is a lot of where we're thinking is probably multiple years away. It's not gonna happen next month. You're not gonna see all this stuff that we're talking about, pop up. Because I mean, 3 years ago, I would have said that. Yeah, I've been like, oh, this is gonna happen soon. Like it's everybody's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna get it. And then people got it, and then they didn't get it. They got it, but they were like, oh, that's dumb. Or they got it and they were like, yeah, that's not cool enough. Or I
Yeah.
don't see the purpose. It's like, how? Like
Yeah.
what about this isn't clicking for you yet? But I was talking to, a couple friends, I just did something recently with my music, and it's like it's not easy enough yet. Things are still difficult. And you mentioned that about Dead Drop. It's got to be seamless. Things got to be seamless. There is a trade-off though. When things become seamless, that kind of gives leverage to the company that is making it seamless. And this is where when I say you see Microsoft making these acquisitions. Why? They want to own all that IP. Why? Because now, whenever these things do become that valuable, they're gonna be able to create a metaverse in which they're able to metaverse. I know it's a
Right.
trigger word, but like
Yeah.
you have that word, but it's like they're gonna be able to incorporate all of those IPs inside of their world, and then you're gonna be building within what they have created all of a sudden. And like I said, a little bit far in advance. I'm thinking maybe a little too far, but I think all of this stuff adds together, and I don't know, it's just too obvious for me. But it really does come back to the fact that it's just like a lot of things aren't simple enough, and they don't like connect because it's just not simple. I hate that that's the answer. I've never been the type of individual that something that's complex like steers me away. I think I'm more interested in stuff that's complex. Maybe that's a bad thing, but like,
The you know
um, but
to
I think
that
that's why we have
yeah
an issue with it. Go ahead, sorry.
no, you're good, you're good. So I think to that, like, crypto is in a lot of people's viewpoint scary because it's fear of the unknown. Like, it seems too complicated, and when you're talking about money, people get really protective, rightfully so, right? But a lot of times that can steer them away from learning a little bit more or digging a little bit deeper into, like, well, what else can crypto do, or how else can these NFTs work, and how do they pertain to gaming, or how could they pertain to gaming, right? And then you have to take into account, like, well, what's the studio's vision for that implementation, or what's that exchange's implementation, and what is that crypto's mission statement, and what they're trying to do with it. And it can be very overwhelming to a newcomer, right? There's no like set rule book, and, like, crypto for dummies, like, that's not real. That's, it's just gonna, unfortunately, it's just gonna take some, for those who are interested, some real hard work and just learning it, the good old fashioned way, like
Yeah.
just doing your research, right? And you're gonna hear that so much. Get used to
If I could try to
get used to that word. Do your own research, like, get used to hearing
yeah,
it.
if I could try to simplify it in one simple way though, what crypto and Web3 does for all digital things is it allows you to own digital assets.
And that's the
That's
biggest
it.
point right there.
That's
That's
it.
the biggest takeaway, right? And do all games do it that way? No. Are some of them just like hardcore pay to win, like mobile games on steroids? Yeah. Are some of them scams? Absolutely. Right. But that is an example, what My World just said, of what it can be, right? And I think that's the goal Midnight Society is really shooting for, right? The idea is like, because in their mind, and I think in a lot of gamers' minds, like let's say you fire up Call of Duty. This is one of the most controversial ones because they've had what I would say are very anti-consumer practices as of late, especially. But imagine if you log into Dead Drop or whatever the game, right? And okay, cool, they have a cosmetic store, right? Pretty run of the mill. But like if I go on Diablo 4 and I buy that skin pack, right, for $25, which is crazy, but I get that skin pack. But yeah, but so does everybody else that has that, and that's fine. That's part of games. But what happens when Diablo 5 comes out and they turn off the servers for Diablo 4? What happens to that skin? It's just gone. That's it. I mean, you got your money's worth in terms of like hours played, and you got to have that many hours to enjoy it. But at the same time, it's like, how much better would it be if you actually owned that and could use it in that next game or something similar, or maybe a shared world, right? Like that's a very enticing prospect, right? So Dead Drop is
It's not
kind of starting that with the variants. Like they're gonna say like, hey, when Dead Drop 2 or whatever the next game from Midnight Society is, like we're gonna find a way to make use of this NFT so that it still has that intrinsic value, and that's a big deal.
It is. It's a huge deal. I was just about to say, like, it's not something that should be overlooked with what you just said. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the fundamental, like I said, the biggest value of Web3 is just simply owning digital assets. But I think what people struggle to understand is a world in which owning digital assets is something that is important.
Mm-hmm.
People are so conditioned. The world is so backwards right now in the digital world that if you post something on Instagram, you don't own your post. In fact, they own you. They own your data, and they
Yeah.
sell your data to companies, which then make ads, which sell it back to you in the form of an ad, in which then you're going to go buy a product. They own every aspect of every digital move you make. And
Mm-hmm.
imagine when you own your data. Imagine when you own your profile. Now you can, like, it's a complete mind shift change. People don't realize that they're being robbed of everything digital. And maybe it's not that extreme, and some people are like, "Oh yeah, who cares?" But when people realize it, they will immediately demand for it. And that's why, I love to see when these companies do things that are bad, or do things where the consumer base starts to, ask questions like, "Oh wait, you're telling me all the money I just spent on these skins is gone now? You're trying to tell me that all of this stuff is just, poof, gone away? Like, what about me?" Right? And
Yeah.
people start to get it
So
slowly.
I won't name, I won't, I mean, it's not hard to figure out, but I won't say the name of the game exactly. But there's games in recent times that they had certain skins in a previous version of their game, and now in their modern version of their game they're reselling the same skin. It's been reskinned a little bit, but it's the same thing basically, right? It's like, here, I had this blue bicycle and I could use it in the first game and I can't use it anymore. And then they sell me the same bicycle but they just painted it red in the new game, and we've seen that just in recent weeks, and it has been a huge topic of controversy. And it's like, that is what I would say is a very poor implementation strategy. Whereas if I just could own that blue bicycle in the first game and use the same blue bicycle in the new game, what's so bad about that? It's, you can still sell me 10 new ones and make money, right? like like if your
Right.
goal is to make money, like you can still sell me a new bike. You don't have to resell me the old one painted in a
100%.
different color, and you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
don't
let's not
make me
even
buy the same thing
yeah,
twice, you
for
know?
sure. And we can't ignore the fact that the gaming industry is one of the most, I mean, insane money industries on the planet right now, if not the fastest growing
Oh yeah.
and the biggest.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking gaming like topples other industries by like almost double, and they're
Yeah.
industries that you'd be like, "Oh, no way." It's like, no, gaming is way more valuable. Why do you
Oh,
think a
gaming
streamer just got
gaming
100
smokes
million?
Hollywood, man.
Crazy. No, it's crazy.
It's
And that's why
huge.
people are fearful of these companies, like, yeah, not even to just, like, completely just ride Doc on this, but, like, this can't lose. Like, for them to lose, like, something catastrophic would have to occur. This is Mark my words, this will be the first like, this will be the main I almost think this will be the first mainstream console Web3 successful game,
I
unless
think
somebody
it will
like
be
beats them
too.
to it
Like, I'm with you on that
for
110%, and
sure.
that's what I've been saying this from the beginning. I'm like, look, as long as they keep up what they're doing, they are going to be the quote unquote guinea pig that the rest of the industry watches very closely. And as soon as Midnight Society really starts to take off, everyone's going to follow suit. I promise you. Like, it's guaranteed, because I mean, there's already been signs of what do you call that? Forms of flattery, imitation, if you want to call it that. There's been examples of that. There's been examples of like, and the extraction genre is that's the next battle royale, right? Battle royale has been hot, but now the extraction shooter genre is taken over. So everybody's throwing their hat in the rings at this point. Tarkov did very well. Dead Drop's coming out. Bungie's making Marathon, which is going to be an extraction shooter, which is cool. But yeah, like it's I really believe that too. I really think Dead Drop is going to be the example. I think they're going to set the example.
100%. And I mean, look, it's like a perfect story, because when I first found Doc, I was like, yo, this dude is sick. Like, I was like blown away. I was like, not to mention like the fact that he's just not what you would expect, right? Like, he's such an antithetical character.
He's the two-time, the back-to-back. Get it right, people.
It's so like cliche and corny to the community to like bring this up, but it's like, I don't know if people realize like how legendary this dude is, like, in a lot of ways, and it's just laughable.
It's
to me.
well,
I'm like,
the funniest thing is like so many
crazy.
people come in, and it was like this with me too. It's like I found out about Doc in like 2016, like late 2015, early 2016. And like, you see him for the first time and you see this character and he talks about being 6'8" and he talks about being the two-time. And then you find out like, oh, he actually is 6'8". Holy crap. He actually is the two-time Blockbuster video game champion. Like, he actually did work on Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. And you're trying to process this because he's such a goofy, hilarious character and he's such a good entertainer. And then, you find out like all this shit's true, and it's like, and the best part is, the more you start to watch his career and you watch the people he surrounds himself with, and then you see what Midnight Society is all about. And I've gotten to meet a lot of the developers at the Snapshot 5 event here in Texas. And dude, seeing the developers, you hear about like, oh yeah, you hear community members say, yeah, the developers, like, yeah, they care, they're really into it, blah, blah. And you hear that, and you hear things, right? And you're like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But to see it in person and to meet these people and to see the true, genuine, like, excitement that they have, that's why I tell people, like, look, if y'all haven't heard about Dead Drop or Midnight Society, come check us out, dude. Come check out this community. Come check out and hang out with the developers. I mean, dude, we'll be playing Dead Drop, and it won't even be Friday night Dead Drop like tonight. It'll be like a random Wednesday, and one of the developers will pop in the Discord, yo, I'm loading in. Who's coming to get some? Who wants the smoke? You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, how cool is that, right? That's freaking awesome. It's like, come and get it. You think you got it? Let's go.
It's just like a new world, right? Like, and that's what I mean. Like, it can't go overstated. Like, this is an insane project, and they are absolutely crushing it. And I mean, of course, there's a long road ahead, and I mean, like, I'm with it. I think there's plenty more to be done, of course, right? But man, yeah, it's
All right.
exciting. It's just super hype.
So we are coming towards the end of the show, but we still got one more topic I want to hit, because and I'm, dude, this has been great so far. I love the Web3 talk. I could do it all day because I'm pretty into it too, as far as studying up and doing my own research, right? But Snapshot 6 is Tuesday. We're there. We're like right there. The hype is at an all-time high. They just this past week revealed that they're going to have the cleaners, the AI, right? Which is a huge deal. And then yesterday, the bomb dropped and said, we're going to have squads. We're going to be able to team up with other variants. Holy crap, dude. All right, tell me, what are your hype levels? And tell me what you think. What else are they going to give us with Snapshot 6? What are your predictions on what they might be doing that we haven't seen yet? Tell me all about it.
Well, I mean, complete speculation, but
yeah.
So
tinfoil hat.
First off, listen. Hype levels are always at an all-time high. I'll also say this though. This is gonna sound like ridiculous, but I have a Mac, So I have actually not been able to download and actually play these snapshots
Oh
on my computer.
no. Oh, I know you're not alone. Look, you're not alone. I know there's
Of
Mac
course.
players, and I know there's a lot of console peeps that are just waiting. So you're not alone in that.
Yeah, and look, I mean, no rush. I get it. I mean, Mac is like the last thing in which people care to build for. So I know I get it. I completely get it. And it's funny because like I'm building on Mac myself, so I already know. Even when I want to build out my game, like I'm gonna have to send it to a Windows computer and be like, hey, you have to build this out for Windows.
Just
But
build a Hackintosh, dude. Just yeah, full blown.
somebody somebody mentioned that it is possible. I would just have to do some stuff, but I
That's
don't
way
want to mess
beyond
this
me,
up.
man. I'm
Uh,
like I'm just going to like Micro Center here, build this because I don't, But
yeah, but so
so
hype
predictions, yeah.
levels through
What
the
are, what
roof.
are your predictions?
Um, well, when it comes to like the squads in the AI, I have no idea what exactly to expect. But if I had to guess, I'm just expecting a totally different mode then, because I can't imagine how the AI in a squad would work within the mode that we've already seen.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming it'll be somewhat of a new mode or some sort of a new something. I don't know what. Maybe these AI hold, maybe they gate a certain type of treasure, a certain type of
It seems that
resource,
way.
perhaps.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean,
That's
again,
that's
we're
that's
speculating based on the images they've showed and
for sure.
everything, but yeah, like everyone, they all seem to be hyping up like, get ready to run into the cleaners. Like, you and your squad might run into the cleaners and like get ready because they're gonna put up a fight, and everyone's memeing on it. It's so funny. It's like. Crypto Stash was like, it's time to take out the trash. It's time to clean up the streets of the existence. So there's all these like hilarious memes going around, and but yeah, dude, I feel sad that you can't play it yet. But again, you're not alone in that, dude. There's a large swath of the community that's waiting on those console stuff. The developers are working really hard to make those connections and make it happen. With a pre-alpha build of any game, it's very difficult to launch on console. So, but rest
Right.
assured, for the audience, they are working very hard on it. It's very important, and Dead Drop absolutely is going to come to console eventually. So,
For
yeah.
sure. And look, I have no expectations. Like I'm happy to vicariously live through it, in a lot of ways. The only thing that I'm upset about is that I'm not over here collecting all this loot that everybody else is collecting. I'm
Well, they're
I'm
gonna
feeling
do a
behind.
reset, so it's not all that. Yeah. Now I don't know at what point. Like at some point, they're supposed to implement cloud saves, but they also have said that they probably will do server wipes the way Tarkov does, like over some predetermined amount of time, right? So. But yeah, to your point, I imagine some loot would persist too, right? Like maybe special items would persist, or stuff that you purchase, perhaps things like that. Sure, right?
Yeah. Right.
But so I don't think you're missing out on the inventory too much. At least right now, from 5 to 6, it's a full wipe. So
Oh, okay. If I had to guess though, I don't think this is Snapshot 6, but and I don't really know if this is even like an off the wall prediction, but I do believe that a lot of these items, if not all of the items, will be NFTs, and I believe that most
yeah,
definitely you will probably look. I don't know if the dev team is aware of this, and maybe this is alpha, maybe they're like, yeah, we already know about that noob. But there's a new ERC, or there's a new EIP standard on Ethereum, in which is they build on Polygon, which is a layer 2 chain, and so it's called EIP 6551.
hmm,
And so this what it allows contracts to do is it allows NFTs to own NFTs. Now, what's exciting about this is
hmm,
this: imagine your variant being able to own items. So instead of your wallet having, your character, it also has all these other weapons. What if your character owns the weapons, owns your items, owns your NFT, owns your inventory?
hmm.
That will be the standard for all characters in video games going forward. It'll be EI. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if this particular EIP standard will stay the same. And maybe I'm completely talking over a lot of the audience's head right now. But essentially, all these are just smart contract standards in which they just have certain functions to them. And one of the
Yeah.
functions of EIP 6551 is the idea that NFTs can own NFTs. That
So
to me is
I
something that
I can provide an example for the audience to play into what you're saying in more layman's terms. So imagine you're playing Diablo 4 and your
mhm,
sorcerer has all this gear and stuff on it. Well, now you can move that sorcerer to other games and they would own all their gear that they had on them. That's kind of the idea. Yeah.
Exactly. Like
And
the
then my
one, if they're
barbarian
moving
has
all of
like
the
other different items that he owns that can move around, So that's
you
a
know
cool
what's crazy,
idea.
and
That's a crazy idea.
absolutely, and this is a taking it back, but one of the first things that I I mean, it's crazy to say this, but when I was 10 years old, uh, when I was big into RuneScape. RuneScape was the first game I ever probably fell in love with. Like, man, I was super into RuneScape, and I remember I would tell people the reason I was playing RuneScape because it was like a nerdy thing to do at the time. The reason my excuse was that I was like, oh, I'm just building up my character to sell it on eBay.
Yeah.
I was so ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Imagine building up your character in these games and then just selling your character with all of that inventory. That
Yeah.
will happen
I think that'll happen.
1,000,000.
I think that's absolutely going to happen. Modern MMOs will adopt that as soon as they find a pathway to it. I guarantee you. As soon as they
100%. Now
find, yeah, yep,
it's difficult. It's certainly expensive, and this is where layer two chains and then once again they picked Matic, they picked Polygon to build on, which is another thing. When I saw that, I was like, they get it so much, I can't even understand it. Like they
yeah,
just get it because yeah, but well, Polygon did. We don't want to get into that, but they did just whatever. They did just technically get a little bit of a shove by the SEC for a second, but it's a good thing. Let me tell you why it's a good thing. We want we want the good guys. We want the big dogs to get challenged because conflict resolution is how you build trust. That's exactly why they're going after the big dogs. They're going after the big dogs because the big dogs are the ones they want to control and regulate. And the reason why they're being sued or challenged by these entities is because they want to have regulations on them because they will dominate America. They
yeah,
will dominate these particular industries,
yeah,
and they want to make sure that they have a hand in the pot. That's it.
yep,
It's all about money. It's all about
yep.
control. It's all about leverage. So
Oh yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Not to go there
No,
because
no, you're good.
that's
You're
once
good.
again.
I think, yeah, and I think the biggest thing with game developers is they're looking at like, they're going to take their time. They're going to be smart, especially Midnight Society. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to wait for some regulatory clarity to some degree before they make too big of jumps, if that makes sense. Because, the saving grace really is like, and while they're waiting on regulatory clarity and implementing whatever their solution is on the Web3 side of things, they're still building a kick-ass game and having a blast doing it, and the community's loving it. So they don't have to really be in a hurry to do it, to be honest. The variants are the most simplistic idea of it. It's executed flawlessly. They're great. They're going to have great intrinsic value moving forward. And as far as when they implement their next steps, they don't have to be in a rush. They're building a badass game while the grown-ups in the SEC figure out their stuff. You know what I mean? Like, let's let mommy and daddy figure out their argument, and we'll be here, right? We're building a game. We're having fun. So, I that's what it seems
Exactly.
like to me.
It's not
Yeah,
right. It's not for us, as gamers, right? If we take because of guys, I think we wear multiple hats during this conversation where we're trying to talk about it from a higher level point of view. But if we just take it back to the basics here, like as gamers, like let's just play the game, let's just have fun, let's just enjoy the ride. And
yeah,
most people are not understanding that like this is the first time in history that you're watching a future legendary game get built before your eyes in which you can own a piece of it.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
no-brainer
yeah,
play.
dude. I
It's
know
a
it's
no-brainer play.
that's just like when like Bungie put out they announced Marathon, and then they had like 5 or 6 t-shirts that were like a pre-order exclusive, and it was super limited, right? And it's like, yo, you can own this piece of like super rare gear that's part of the game. But just take that idea and then imagine you actually own that, and it's like a broader part of the game that carries over multiple games, right? And you're right. I think it's either gets looked over, or a lot of people just don't even understand the big picture of what Dead Drop, even in this early stage, is presenting, right? So
Right.
no, all of the above, man. We do have to cut it. This conversation, man, has been a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm always open to talk Web3 side of things, and I definitely want to get more guests such as yourself and others that are in the Web3 space to come on more often. And like, so this goes for any guest that wants to be on the show. You can just DM me on Twitter or in Discord if you're in the Midnight Society Discord. My DMs are always open. I'm always happy to host. Same thing for the developers. There's always an open chair for developers. So, and they know that. So, MAiWORLD, where can people find your content? What you like to do? Where can people find how to follow you?
Yeah. So I typically use Twitter for in terms of social medias. That's definitely like my number one go-to. I do have a Discord, but it's really for like it's a more tighter community, like not where I would suggest everybody go. But you could get a little more insight there. But if you're looking for the music, I put my music. I am Web3 native, so you can't go on Spotify and find my music. It's not like you have to pay for it to listen. It's just a matter of it is in NFTs. So if you wanted to own it, of course you'd be able to buy these NFTs. Although I did, not to shill, but I did just drop my first free one literally went live today,
Woo.
which I will send you the link to after this. It's so you can collect it for
Yeah.
free. It's like I said, you can own a piece of a
What
song.
what website is it on? Like, how could people find it?
Yeah, I know. It's on sound.xyz, which
Okay.
is I would say probably the most popular Web3 music NFT platform. Although I have my critiques on that platform. It is what it is. But hey, listen, where the market is, I'm gonna go for now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But listen, a lot of cucks over there. But
Yeah.
but listen, but but I will say also you can also find my stuff just from a streaming point of view. You can listen to it on Audius .co/MAiWORLD. I can link it for you maybe to put in the description or something like that. That'd be cool. But yeah, you can also, like I said, Twitter is where I'm the most active though. So Twitter, and then it's MAiWORLD backwards. So DLROWIAM.
Yeah, and I've
I am.
tagged him on the Twitter post for this episode. So if you have trouble finding him, just find my Twitter post, and I have him linked there as well. So, MAiWORLD, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. This has been an absolute blast.
Dude, thank you for having me, man. It was a great
Yeah,
chat, and I'm always
absolutely.
down to come back on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, for everybody else, just remember to like and subscribe and hit the bell notifications so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Don't forget, we also do a Twitter Spaces every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern called Variant Roundtable. So, if you have ideas, thoughts, or otherwise about Dead Drop, that is the place to be to get your voice heard. And we'd love to have you there. And then we do Variant Intels, these podcasts here, every Friday around 6 p.m. Eastern, give or take life circumstances, good like today. So, yeah, no, we appreciate everybody being here and hanging out. And that's everything. We will see you in the tower. Have a good one.